On breakfast, black coffee and spicy cheesy toast. I hope that KosakChess will help you the most. We continue our battle with the medium chess puzzles, but these puzzles are getting harder and harder. But remember, from the other hand, we are stronger and stronger. So we are not giving up and we are fighting. I will draw one arrow to check if everything is okay. I think it is, so we can start solving. Well, okay. The first thing I see is the king. The king is in the center. In general, the general endgame rule says it's pretty okay to have a king in the center, but not with the heavy pieces on the board. Okay? If we have heavy pieces on the board, they can cause a lot of very unpleasant things to the king. And I think and I see that we can create a mating net to the king. Let's have a look. If we play rook d1, cutting off every single potential square to him, because these are defended by king, this by rook, and this by rook. So if we cut every potential square of the king, then we just need to give a check, by playing the f4 move, and it's over. Wow, but how did you found this solution that quickly? I would probably consider move like f4, yes, and f4 as a first move is a really good move to consider. Of course, I agree with you. But you can calculate really quickly that after f4 the king escapes, we can grab a pawn, and even though maybe it can even go further down in order to protect this pawn. So whenever I see the heavy pieces and the king in the center, I am just trying to cause him a lot of problems. So that's why I play rook d1 and give a checkmate by playing f4. You see, the king in the center, and we have a heavy piece, and we even have our db, so we can cause some problems for this guy. And let's think a little bit, because now I need to find out the solution. If we give a check to d4, the king escapes to e6. Then if we give a check to e5, the king escapes to f7, and there are no more possible checks, so I believe we are going in a wrong way. We can go in a really good way by playing queen e5, check, but the king needs to escape on c4. And now the king is, again, closer and closer it comes to our pieces. So now we need to find out how to create a mating net for him. Because you see, the only possible square for him is d3. So in my dream world, I want to somehow not allow him to go to d3. Queen e5, king c4. If I give a check, he escapes on b5, right? And if he hides on b7, we are losing probably because of the fact that he has a pawn. Yeah, maybe we can take it. But anyway, we don't want to allow him to escape. So queen e5, king c4. Okay. If we give a check on b3, the king goes further, king d3, queen d4 check and king e2, queen d1 check, king e3 and bishop d4 checkmate. So this was a really forced variation. We just needed to calculate some checks, some very important checks in order to give a mate. Look how important is the move order, because if we play queen e5, king c4, b3, king d3, queen d4, king e2 and queen d2, for example, the king can escape both ways, and actually we are getting out of the checks. But if we give a check on d1, the king can only escape to e3, and the bishop d4 ends the game. So you see that I didn't see the solution immediately. I just needed to think a little bit. But if we found some really important, and what is more important even, the useful checks, we did it pretty easily. Queen e5 check, b3, of course after b3 the king can escape there because of our queen, b3, queen d4, queen d1 and bishop d4, the final touch. Okay. The pattern recognition tells me something, that something will happen there on the g2 square. I don't know yet if it's a true, but this is what my intuition, hints me. The problem with that, we can't make a g2. We can't reach the g2 square. It's because of this queen. So it was really the first thought that came to my mind is to somehow block the communication with queen, the communication by queen with the g2 pawn. So c6 came to my mind immediately. Yeah, because after c6 the queen no longer protects the g2 pawn. And the thing is that after g6, queen c6, the queen and queen are standing in one line and the queen remains unprotected there. So we can play bishop takes h2 and grabbing a queen in the next move. Yeah, this is a typical discovered check. No, it's not discovered check. It's like giving check and getting the queen. I don't know the name of the motives. Who cares about the name? We just want to know it more chess wisely, right? But after c6, he can just defend it g3. Now I see he weakened a little bit his light squares. But if I play queen f5 or queen g4 just to reach the f3 square, now he can take the pawn and he controls the square. Okay. Bishop h2, king h2 doesn't work. This is check, but it doesn't help us. What else we can calculate, right? We can also calculate something like rook b8. This is nothing wrong with it. And after rook b8, white has 4 potential squares because they must protect the g2 pawn. And after queen c6, we already know the motive, bishop h2 is losing, so the only 3 potential squares. Let's maybe play queen f3, because like queen f3 looks the most logical to me. Right, queen f3. And it attacks the bishop. If I play bishop g4, then queen d5 maybe. Huh. Rook b8, queen f3, bishop g4. Or maybe he can even offer me a trade by playing queen e4. Yeah, we want to keep the bishop on h3, I believe. Okay, so we have first problems, but it's good because I hope that because of the fact that I'm sharing with you my thinking process, we will do this puzzle. We will do this puzzle together. Okay, we need to somehow close the communication between the queen and the pawn on g2. Yeah, but c6, g3. If I weaken these squares, I somehow want to go to the queen, go with my queen to f3 square in order to bring a mate. But whenever I move my queen, f6, f5, h5, he takes my pawn and he still defends the square. And after queen f6, queen c6, I am no longer threatening the check because the pawn is on g3. If rook b8, queen f3 is really annoying because the bishop has to run away, and if he runs away, we are no longer threatening a mate. Okay, let me think. Yeah, you know what? I haven't created anything new. I was just thinking of the line c6, g3 and trying to maybe play bishop b4, something like this, in order to, you know, protect the pawn and somehow play the queen there. But the problem is that after this thing, he just takes it with the queen. And my first intention was to play queen g4 and queen f3, queen g2. But after queen g4, he can just play f4 and move back the queen on d2, and he protects the g2 square. So it doesn't work. Wow. Yeah, to be honest, I don't know the solution yet. Or maybe this is just simple c6, g3 and protect the pawn by playing rook c8. I would be surprised if it is the solution. But who knows, maybe it is. Well, we just protect the pawn. Then we threat queen g4, queen f3. We don't allow white queen to go that far to defend his king. The queen is blocked. Should we go for it? Like c6, g3, and rook a c8. But he can easily defend, yeah, by playing f4 or something. But he weakens a lot his light squares. So I can even play queen h5, threatening queen f3. After king f2, this pawn would be hanging in some variations. It just looks lost. Yeah, you know, well, I am risking right now. I would go for c6 there. I would go for c6. Another potential move is to play rook b8, but I don't like queen f3. Yeah, so let's go for it. c6. Okay, he just took it, but we need to for sure check the the rest of the variations. So let's maybe go through the analyzes. Yeah, let's go through the analyses. And yeah, white played a4. And I played c6. Of course, I want to give a check. And I was for a long time considering g3. And the only move, rook a c8. The only move, rook a c8. Whoa, big head. Big head. Rook a c8. Okay. Yes. Yes. Wow. Yeah, because now it's really problematic for white to cover the f3 square. I was thinking of f4, but after queen h5, yeah, king f2, as I told you, this pawn might be weakened even after bishop g4. Yeah, with the equal material, or no, we even being pawned down. Yeah, because we are pawned down, right? Yeah, we are pawned down. We are having the versus. It's minus 4.5. Okay, minus 4.5. So it just shows how good is this position and how weak is this king. Wow. Okay, we did it, but it was the hardest puzzle we faced in this series. Okay, the bishop looks at the h7 square, so I would love to play queen h5. This is what my pattern recognition tells me. Yeah, I would love to play queen h5, and if he takes the knight on e5, we saw a mate like this: bishop h7, king h6, bishop g6. And we cover the h7 square, we cover the f7 square, so we give a checkmate. But after queen g5, I can expect g6, and I can just take the pawn. You know, h6, queen g6. We got rid of the best defenders of the king, which are the pawns. After king h8, queen h7, it is a checkmate. So queen h5, this is my guess. And after h6, boom, I would play bishop h6. I just don't care if it works or not. I just want to get rid of these defenders. This is the best way to play chess. Queen h5, like without any hesitation I can play it. Free bishop, free rook. Okay, he defended from the h7 mate, but yeah, but he just needed to give up the material. Well, there we go. The knight gave us a check. Yes, so the king h8 or king g7 are two possible moves. This is of course bleh. We are blundering a mate. So we need to consider king g7. And a lot of you could just play king g7 and then say, okay, I will wait for the opponent's answer. But this is not really the purpose of these tasks. This is not really the purpose of these puzzles. The thing is that this is the best position because we have the only move there, and we can try to find out what is or what might be the best solution, the best practical solution for white there. And, well, the king is exposed. Okay, I could play king g7 and be happy, but I prefer to calculate first. King g7. Knight h5 looks a little bit annoying, since all the checks along the g file ends like there I take the rook, and after queen g3 I take the knight. So after king g7, the only sensible check I see is knight h5. Still keeping the knight, and still the knight is attacking me. And after after king g7, knight h5, if I move the king forward to g6, I think I'm getting mated. Yes, I'm getting mated on g7 square. If after king g7, knight h5, I move my king on h8, well, I am again getting mated, queen f6, queen g7. So we can't allow white to give us a checkmate with a checks. So king h7, knight h5, I see king h7, and the king is really safe there. It is really safe there, since the only possible check right now is with the knight. After king h7, knight h5, king h7, queen f6 might look like a deadly threat, but it isn't with a check. So we have a full one move to defend against it. This is why it is important to playing with a tempo, or if we play against these tempos, to play as unpleasant as we might, yeah. As we may. After king g7, knight h5, king h7, we don't allow white to give a check. After queen f6, I think we can play just rook g8, defending the square on g7 and attacking the one on g2. After king g7, knight h5, king h7, of course he can give a check back. And now, and this is the thing I believe, should we take a risk and play king g6? Because now, you know, again, the rook, the checks on g5 doesn't work, since the knight or the rook would be hanging. Or maybe we can just go for the king g7, the repetition. So we see two variations. One, which is really safe and gives us a half of a point. But one, which is kind of risky, but not that risky if we calculate it, right? Because we believe in power of our calculation. King g7, knight h5, king h7, knight f6. I can play king g7 and make a draw, so let's consider king g6. This is the only sensible move. So we have that position like there, but with the king there. So after king g6, rook g4 is impossible due to bishop g4, queen g4, and we take the knight. After queen h5, we still take the knight, and we are happy because we got rid of one of the attackers. And after rook f4, maybe defending the knight, I can give a check. I can keep checking. No, it would be deadly for white. So my first impression is that we can play king g6. We need to also, after king g6, consider knight g4, threatening the check on h6, right? No, but we can take on g4, rook g4, and come back to h7. It is safe for us. Yeah, let's go king g7, king h7. He took a rook. I even didn't see that fact. Yeah, but okay, let's take the rook back. Okay. I just want to check. This variation. So let me think. Knight takes f6, king g7, knight h5, king h7, and after knight, okay, rook d8. Who cares about rook d8? Knight f6 is important. King g6. Yeah, we can play like this. Yes, and knight g4. This is the best thing for white, but after bishop g4, rook g4, as I told you, king h7 escapes. Even the king can go to f5. Wow. Okay, so the position is really safe for us, even with the king that exposed. But the fact is, we needed to play correctly with the king. I believe I can show you maybe the variation, because after queen d8, the material is equal, but after queen c5, we are giving a double attack. We are making double attack with a check. We grab a knight in the next move, so we are winning a piece. Okay, we move further. Bishop e2. Again, the king is in the center. We have heavy piece, so I want to create a mating net. The only possible square for white is to go to f4, so that's why I can play g5, intending f6. This is over. This is mate in 2, or maybe in 3 if he takes the g5. You see, this is a pattern recognition. I don't know how many times I told you about it, but if you solve so many tasks like this, you will just see also these patterns in a second, and you will find a solution also in a second. The king is in the center and we have heavy piece there. Even though if there wasn't a rook, right? I know it might be queen or might be a bishop. Who cares? The king is in the center. If the opponent's king is the center, we have to hunt for him. We have to hunt for him. Definitely. So, let's play g5, 8g5, 8g5. We covered this square. This square is protected. This square is protected. This square is protected. This pawn would be protected if we play f6 because it's gonna be weekend. Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. G5. Yeah, let's go g5. And let's play f6 checkmate. Boom. Pattern recognition. We love it. Queen d4. Okay. The most active piece. We can't give a check. The piece is hanging. Yeah. What can we do? What can we do? We can do a lot of things. We can play bishop c5, attacking the queen and threatening to take the pawn on f2. As I told you one of the previous clips, the f2 and f7 pawns are the weakest on the beginning of the game. So we can attack it. But after bishop c5, oops, we are losing the knight. So probably we need to move with this knight. But after knight d5, I don't know. The material is equal. Knight d5, queen e5, everything exchanges. White is perfectly fine. But if we take with this knight takes e5. Well, the thing is that he can't really take the knight back because he loses the queen. Now our queen looks and hits his queen. So after knight d5, queen g4, we are also taking the queen because the knight is protecting it. Okay, is that all? I did it in a pretty accelerated way because I saw that there is no checks. There are only few captures, so I considered this capture, and this capture. I also considered this attack. But if you see that the queen d4 is played with the intention of taking the knight, you have to somehow take care of the knight, especially if your all pieces are undeveloped and your strongest piece actually haven't made a move. So knight d5, let's just take it. After queen d8, of course, king d8, knight d5, we are piece up. So we are happy. Wow, we are reaching 2700. Amazing. Heavy piece, king really exposed. We can keep checking. Well, queen c7, queen b7, blah. We are giving up the queen. Another checks, I see bishop e3, attacking the king. And you see that all these squares are covered by our pieces, yeah? This is one, these are two, this knight also protects it, and also knight protects it. So if we give a check to the king has to cover somehow with the checks. For example, by playing bishop d4, but bishop d4 is stupid, we just take it. We just take everything which is on our road. But after bishop e3, d4, if we take with the bishop, we lose our bishop, yeah? It's stupid. So we somehow need to get rid of the pawn on d5 in order to allow our bishop to check the king. So after bishop e3, d4, maybe knight d4. No, but the knight is pinned, so we can't really move it. Bishop e3, d4, rook d4, sacrificing the rook. Bishop d4, the knight is still protecting the square. And we are still taking everything which is on our road. So let's play it. Bishop e3, rook takes d4. Yeah, let's remove everything which disturbs us. Amazing stuff. Whoa, and we reached 2700. Wow, okay, maybe we can reach even 2800, I believe. Yeah, let's go for 2800. Why not? Queen, the most active piece. This is active. This is kind of active, and I see the range of our bishop c8 ends on the h3 square, and on the h3 square stands the knight. Let's consider the checks. There are no. Let's consider the captures. They are two. But if I take the bishop, he can take the bishop back and nothing wrong happens. If I take the queen gf3, now I see the knight lost its two defenders. So I can take the free knight. Is this all task about? Ah, no, because after queen f3, gf3, bishop h3, I would fall into the trap. Bishop d5. We need to look for the idea of our opponent's last move. We need to watch it. I almost fell into this trap. Queen f3, gf3, bishop h3. by no reason, but there is a reason that there is a reason for white playing bishop d5. They attack the b7 square, and then they can hit our rook. So if we go for this variation, we lose our rook. Bishop b7, bishop a8. And we are material down. So after queen f3, gf3, we can play c6 first. Very important move to kick off this bishop. Kick off it. I don't like him. Then the bishop goes somewhere, and then we can take the free knight. I believe this is a really important intermezzo, this c6 move. Of course, if after queen f3, gf3, c6, the knight escapes, we just take the free bishop. Queen f3, c6. It's an important thing. King f7, we are piece up. Amazing, amazing, guys. Okay. We are reaching 2800. 2800 is in our distance. Our distance? In our range. Oh, range. This is a better word. Okay, now we need to think. This is active piece, this is active piece, this is active piece. And the king can't really make a move. So I think we just need to somehow make a use of these pieces. The first thing which comes to my mind is knight d6. But even after king d8, nothing happens. And what's more important, e d6 probably isn't working, of course, too. Yeah. So I would love to somehow play queen c7 and maybe threat mate like in this way. But our king is in danger, you know. He has also active pieces. He can give a check, The bishop is really, really, really close. I am afraid he may hurt us. I think I spotted something. I play queen c7. So this is an active move. Okay, we can also maybe let's consider maybe captures also. Bishop e7. Bishop e7 is also tempting. But bishop e7 doesn't threat anything particular. Yeah, we can take the rook. But the position is so open, and the position of our king is so dangerous, that I believe we need to react somehow on it. Because after bishop e7, I don't know, maybe he can give a check on c3, he can give a check on b1, he may hunt our king, the king goes to e4. I don't really want to even calculate it, yeah? If the king goes that further, it probably means that something went really, really wrong. Yeah, so queen c7, but why is queen c7 better than bishop e7? Because bishop e7 doesn't threat nothing, and queen c7 threats a mate in 2 possible ways, or even in 3 possible ways, yeah, also using the knight. And after queen c7, bishop c3 check, because after king c3 he just loses this bishop, and the bishop hasn't joined the attack. So I believe after queen c7, bishop c3 is the better way to survive, because black can't really make some sort of like a waiting move there. Yeah, because I'm threatening mate in 3 ways, right? So even if he plays knight d6, he covers these 2 squares. He gets a checkmate on e7. So queen c7, bishop c3, king d1, queen b1, maybe bishop c1. Sorry, queen c7, bishop c3, king d1, queen b1, and bishop c1. Why do we move back this bishop? Yeah, because I don't want to be checked. I don't want to be checked with the king. Now I am threatening mates in only 2 ways, but on the end of this variation, if the knight moves, I can also give a checkmate to on d7 square. So queen c7. If he plays queen b4, I can just take the king, queen b1. I can just take the bishop, queen b1, bishop c1. This move is really important, bishop c1. Because if we go for a king adventure, queen c2, king e3, queen d2, king e4, well, it just looks bad. Queen d5, I don't know. We have the king in the center. We don't want to have king in the center. So queen c7, bishop c3, king d1, queen b1, and bishop c1. This is the solution, I believe. We just escape out of the checks, and we are fine because we are threatening our own checkmates. Queen c7, king d1. Okay, he gave a check on a1, but it doesn't really matter because I can. Okay, after king e2 there is a mate on e1. congrats. I was just, you know, calculating some trip, but bishop c1, king c1, and we are threatening a mate. I hope everything was understandable. If not, I will maybe show you my thinking process. Queen c7, bishop c3, king d1. I was calculating a long time these such things. Probably this is also lost, but who cares if we can give a checkmate in one move. Queen e1 checkmate. Yeah, after queen c3, king d1, queen a1, we can still, I don't know, go for something for like bishop c1. No, after queen b1. No, but we can go queen b1. Yeah, I was calculating queen b4, king d1, queen b1, and now bishop c1. And again, we are threatening a mate in a three possible ways. If the knight moves also on d7 square. If the queen goes on a1, now we can go to e2 and we escape from the checks. Queen f1, rook f1 doesn't really disturb us. Yeah, and black just needs to do something. The only sensible way is to threatening a checkmate to on e1, but after bishop c1, we are winning because of the threats I mentioned earlier. Okay, guys. Oh, maybe I will. I don't know if I can make it, but maybe I will make myself smaller. Because now we need to see we made so many puzzles that we need to see our progress, because we are making a progress. Okay, but I think it's enough. It's enough for today's video. We solved something like 10 puzzles, so it's quite a good number, I believe. Guys, please stay tuned. We are going to fight. We are still going to record. We are still going to solve many more puzzles. So thank you very much for joining me. These puzzles are getting harder and harder, but as we can see, we are not giving up. We are still fighting. We will solve everything we can solve, right? Everything what our forces will allow us. Thank you very much. KosakChess was there. Stay tuned. Bye bye.